Greetings everybody, Gametrog here, and today we're going to take a look at F-Zero for the Super Nintendo. F-Zero was a launch title released in 1991 with the Super Nintendo, and was one of the first games to feature the infamous Mode 7. I never played F-Zero much in the past. I had a buddy who had it, and I got to play it a few times, but I never spent a whole lot of time with it. And it just so happens I've had a nice box copy sitting next to me for a little while now, and decided, you know what, let's give it a try. So F-Zero is a futuristic racing game where the cars were replaced with hovercraft. And these hovercraft fly on 15 different magnetic tracks that are suspended above cities over 9 different planets spread throughout the galaxy. There are 4 different hovercraft you can choose from, each with different strengths and weaknesses, which could include durability, or top speed, or acceleration. Once you select your hovercraft, you get to pick the league you'd like to race in. There are 3. There is Knight, Queen, and King, each one harder than the last, and each league consists of 5 tracks. Some courses are just variations of the same track. For instance, the first race in every league occurs on Mute City. So you have Mute City 1, Mute City 2, Mute City 3, and the track changes a little bit for each one. What I do like about this is if there's a different course or a different path, you can actually see it when you're driving on one of the other variations, and it's blocked off, like it would be on a real track. Once you select your league, then you select the difficulty, and this controls the difficulty of the other racers. You have a choice of beginner, standard, and expert. So you can pick the hardest league, but still set the racers to beginner. And you can unlock an even harder setting if you beat the game on expert. Once you hit that, it is time to start the race. So each race is 5 laps. The first race will be the easiest, and they get harder all the way to the 5th. You begin the race at the start line with the other cars that you didn't select. So you will be primarily racing those 3 vehicles. Once you get going, there are other NPC cars on the track that do count for spots, but they're not racing you like the first 3. So on each of the 5 courses in the league, your goal will be to finish in at least 3rd by the end of each race. At the top of the screen, you can see your rank, which is your position. You can see your power bar, which is your health. And you can see safe, and it has a number underneath it. The safe is the position you have to be in at the end of this lap to be able to continue. So on lap 1, you start out with a safe of 15. That means by the time you get around and you cross the start-finish again, you need to be in 15th or better position, which is easy for lap 1. And the safe number will go down for each lap. So it'll start on 15, go to 10, go to 7, go to 5, and then end at 3. So on the 4th lap of the 5, for instance, you have a safe position of 5. If when you cross the start-finish line, you are in 6th position, the game will end. You will not be allowed to even finish the race. So you have to continually be improving. Now the main hovercraft are yours and the 3 you didn't pick. But when you start racing, other NPC cars appear. Little yellow cars. Those will count as cars you're passing. So when it says you're in position 15, when you start passing some of these NPC cars, it'll start rolling that number off. Once you get up to 4th position, the 3 remaining cars in front of you will be the original hovercraft. Passing the yellow NPC cars will not gain you any new positions, although they'll still be out there. So it's a race up to 4th, and then it's a race to pass the other 3 hovercraft. Now, the power bar, which is really just your health bar. As you start racing, you will take damage. You can take damage from hitting or running along the wall, running into other cars, or hitting any of the various obstacles on the track, like mines and whatnot. If this power bar goes all the way down, you will explode. You can, however, repair your power or restore your power, and you do that in the pit stop strips. So on each track there is a section that's like a pit stop on a normal racetrack. Except for this one, you don't actually stop on it, you just drive through it. So as you come around to the start finish, the pit stop will be on your left or right, and you just need to maneuver your craft over it. A spaceship will fly over and start to heal you as you travel across it. You can slow down to increase the amount of power you regain, but if you do that, cars are going to start passing you like butter. I like this mechanic because sometimes it is worth slowing down a little bit to get a little bit more for a very difficult track. There are 3 ways you can die or lose a hovercraft in the game. The first way is not being at the safe position when you cross the start-finish line. The second way is through damage on the track. And the third way is from damage off the track, which there really is no damage off the track. If you're off the track, it's instant death. And the only way you'll end up off the track are at jumps. There'll be jumps along the track, which are cool, and some of the jumps are over sections where there are no track. Either landing on those or hitting one of the other jumps and just veering off the side of the track will lead to your instant death. As the tracks get tougher, they throw in some cool obstacles. There could be rough patches that'll slow you down, magnetic bars on the side of the track that will pull your car and hold it there, giving it damage, slowing it down, jumps that you can avoid a lot of these things with, actual minefields you have to navigate, icy or slick parts that'll have you skidding off to the side into the rough, and other similar things. After your first lap, when you cross the start-finish line and begin your second lap, you are given a speed boost. You can have up to 3 of these, and you can store them, and they will give you a massive speed increase for 4 seconds. I'd recommend you save these for straightaways, or for jumps. Using them on a jump will often allow you to clear many obstacles in a single bound. As far as the controls go, your D-pad moves you left and right. The B button is for gas, Y and A will brake. The left and right shoulder buttons will actually shift the weight of the car or act like a rudder on an airplane, where you can lean the car into a tighter curve. And at points where you jump into the air, and there are a couple, pushing up or down on the D-pad will increase or decrease your jump distance. The controls for F-Zero are tight and responsive. You'll be able to maneuver your hovercraft pretty easily after a little bit of practice. I think F-Zero looks amazing. I had seen it before, but I hadn't got to sit down in front of it for hours, and in doing so, the first thing that caught my eye was the frame rate. This thing runs at 60 frames a second. It is butter smooth. The Mode 7 track, the Mode 7 field, is very impressive. There is some drawing in the distance, but it's far enough away that it never messes with the racing. You can always see the curves coming up. I like the intro where they start out in the air and fly down to the start-finish. It's a nice touch. The hovercraft cars have great animation. The sprites themselves don't use Mode 7 scaling. They've actually drawn a different sprite for every angle of the car. And it looks nice, so when you're passing, you'll see the side of them. Or when the screen rotates around, you'll see the front at different angles. The rudders on the back and the thrusters all have nice little animations. When you use the left or right shoulder button to take a tight corner, your hovercraft will dip down to the side and scrape the wing on the track, and sparks will fly off. It's kind of nice. There are no side objects on the track, which would have been cool. Buildings or poles or lights or whatnot. And the distant backgrounds are colorful and nice, but there's not a whole lot to them. The graphics for the racetrack and the Mode 7 plane itself are very nice. I like how they added animation to outside the track. I mean, you won't see it when you're going 400 miles an hour, but it's another nice little touch. Overall, I think the graphics are top-notch for a launch title Super Nintendo game. The music for F-Zero is good. It's not the most memorable soundtrack you'll hear, but it's not distracting or overly repetitive. There's several songs. The hovercraft sounds are cool, and each car can be heard in stereo when it's passing you on the left or right, or when it's coming up behind you. So outside of the music and the hovercraft sounds, there's not a whole lot of other sound effects. But that's fine, it's all about the racing. As far as the difficulty, F-Zero is easy to play, but it can be quite challenging on the later levels. You can master the tracks on the easiest difficulty and then crank up the competition level to expert for the real challenge. The rubber band technique is in full effect for the other cars on the track. You can pass them and run the best 4 laps of your life, only to slow down a little bit and have them be right there and overtake the spot instantly. But this does keep the races close and often makes for an exciting finish. The first track on each of the leagues takes place on Mute City, and all 3 of them are easy. So they'll give you a false sense of security initially, and then they hit you with some tight turns and narrow tracks that will have you pinballing all over the course. There are times in the game where you'll either be hit by one of the other cars, hit a boost pad and smash into the wall, or bounce off some other obstacle, trying desperately to get control of your car again. And in the meantime, you got passed by 6 cars. And when this happens in the last lap or 2 of a race, it's probably going to cost you the race. So I like F-Zero. The frame rate and the visuals are impressive. The controls are tight, and it is genuinely fun when you are trying to pass the last guy on the last lap. It's a good game, and I would recommend it to any racing fan out there. And that being said, I would like to have seen some more jumps. They have it in there, and it's cool when you're jumping over the track, but they don't have it as much as I'd have liked. And with 15 tracks, the replayability is somewhat limited. So overall, I'm going to say F-Zero for the Super Nintendo is a very good game. We're going to give it 4 trogs out of a possible 5. I would like to thank you for checking out my video, and if you like it, make sure to subscribe.